We all know the importance of communication. Every coach, every leader, every mentor, every Google search you do on good leadership is all going to tell you that to be a good leader, you have to be an effective communicator. And while that's true, what does that even mean? What does it mean to be an effective communicator in your own business or the team that you lead? What's going to happen if you don't improve your communication skills fast enough? Is your team going to fail? Is your business going to shut down? How can you actually take steps to improve your communication immediately? Don't worry. On this episode, we're going to cover all that and things you can do to incorporate right now to improve your communication abilities and get through more effectively to your team. If you get any value out of this video or this page or any of the lessons here, don't forget to like and subscribe and put your notifications on and tell your friends and enemies about the show. And if you comment the word leadership at the end, we'll give you a shout out in a future episode. Love you guys. Stay strong. All right, this is the Libretti Leadership Lab number 8 with me, John Libretti, founder of Spearhead Leadership. If you don't know who we are the bar rescuer, the John Taffer of the business world. We get into the trenches of your business with you to help you identify your biggest issues, keeping you from your accomplishing your goals, getting you clear on the process to lead your team through those issues to see long-term success. And if you're looking for more of a one-on-one leadership wingman, a little bit more in depth, we got you covered there too. Check us out on our website at www.spearheadleadership.co. You can check us out on Instagram at _spearheadleadership, where we put out a lot of questions and topic ideas for you guys to interact with. You can also check us out on LinkedIn at Spearhead Leadership, where we put out a lot of content there too. So, talking about communication. Why are we talking about communication? Well, we do it every day. We do it every single day, almost every minute of the day, especially if you're working in an office environment with a team, with people around you. If you have a family at home, you're communicating with them all the time. We're not just talking about verbally, non-verbally as well, all sorts of communication. It is the most common thing, the most common tool, I guess you can say, you utilize on a day-to-day basis. Now, yes, communication is absolutely key. In fact, you can go back to a lot of issues that arise in your jobs, your careers, your business, in your relationships as well, and you'll see that a lot of the times the cause of those issues is probably something as simple as a communication breakdown, a misunderstanding of communication of some sort, poor communication that leads to arguments and conflict. Yeah, you can go back and see that communication is sort of the linchpin in a lot of aspects of success or failure in your career, business, relationship, what have you. But don't sweat it, because we got you covered here. All right. There are a lot of simple things you can do to improve your communication, be more effective at it. That's going to mitigate a lot of issues. It's going to create a lot more of a streamlined day-to-day with your team, your business, relationships. This is transferable everywhere. So this is not something that you have to get anxiety about or stress too much about. Communication is so common that not only while you make a lot of mistakes and there's a lot of communication breakdowns and poor communication throughout, your existence, it also means there's a lot of ways to improve yourself in the communication side of things, in that skill set. And we're going to help you get there. So again, it's not something that you need to be paralyzed by fear about, because there are simple, effective ways to improve your communication skills and lead through any issues you might have with it. Now, there are a lot of common misconceptions in the communication world. So we're going to get into a few of them now so that we're aware of we're doing a little myth busting here when it comes to communication. A lot of times, you see this from C-suite level executives. So we're talking, chief executive officers, chief operations officers, CEO, COO, CTO, CXO, C-suite. That's when I say C-suite level, that's what I mean. High level executives, VPs, they're in the upper echelon of the leadership world in their businesses, usually bigger businesses. And for one reason or another, there's this myth, this misconception that corporate jargon and buzzwords and phraseology is king when it comes to communicating to people. Now, you have to understand where that comes from. That is incorrect. That myth, we can bust that myth, but we have to understand where it comes from. It comes from the intent of getting everybody speaking the same language, for lack of a better term, so that everybody understands, oh, these are common words and phrases that we use in this industry, so that everybody from the warehouse workers to the C-suite executives all understand what's being communicated out at any given time. And that makes sense. Absolutely. There should be common words used inside your business that everybody understands. That's how language works. That's how communication works in general. But as I'm sure you've noticed in your own jobs and careers, the corporate jargon and the buzzwords have sort of taken over to the point where they almost don't mean anything anymore. You can look at every LinkedIn post from CEOs and high-level executives that are trying to, put out information and content regarding their business to help, gain customers, gain clients, recruit new talent, what have you. And it's the same buzzwords and all. Pick your company, pick your industry, same corporate jargon and buzzwords, and they become ineffective. So there is no rule that when you reach a managerial position or supervisory role, any sort of leadership role at all, at any level, that you have to start speaking like that. Okay? In the world of communication, in the world of leadership, in the world of relationships, keep it simple, stupid. Simple is better. You want to reach your audience? You want your team to understand you better? Speak to them as normal as possible. The warehouse worker on your team or the IT professional doesn't want to sit there and listen to you spout out a whole bunch of sentences full of nothing but corporate jargon and buzzwords and acronyms. What once was intended to make things more efficient and quicker and easier to understand has become a deciphering, translating effort in futility. Because now people have to sit there like, oh, I forgot what that acronym was. I forgot what that phrase meant. I don't know what they're talking about with synergy and high ticket and all that stuff. So you don't have to use the corporate buzzwords and jargon. If it is easier and more effective for the team that you're working on, okay, they're all on the same sheet of music, for lack of a better term. There's a phrase for you. If everybody is understanding that stuff and it is easier and more effective, keep on using it. But if it's not, there's no obligation for you to sound like a boss, sound like a leader, sound like an executive. There is no one right way to sound effective as a communicator or a leader. Trust me. Simple is usually better. Almost all the time, simple is better. Next myth we're going to bust. Next misconception. More words equal better communications, better comms. Also not true. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I happen to be of the philosophy that there is no such thing as over-communication. And I'm going to put a little asterisk on that. Because when I say that, I am talking about certain environments, certain teams you're working with, certain instances where there's no such thing as too much communication. For instance, if I'm sending an email out to somebody and I want them to have as much information as possible, say they're prepping for a presentation and I want to arm them with as much information and data as possible. I'm going to load that email up and give it to them. How I'm going to structure that email and communicate that out is going to be in a way that is not an info dump. It's not going to be a fire hose of information thrown at them. So that is a discussion we'll have. We'll get more in depth into the communication world, and we do that when we, with our clients on exactly how to get very clear on the different vehicles of communication. So speaking, telephone, texting, email, formal letters, memos, announcements, all those different vehicles of communicating. We get very in-depth and clear on the most effective ways to approach those. So if I'm info dumping on an email, for instance, I'm going to put at the top of that email one sentence, one blurb of the important details of what I want that person to get out of this communication. In the military, we call it the bluff, the bottom line up front. A lot of times you hear in the corporate world, TLDR, too long, didn't read. And they give you the quote unquote quick and dirty of the message. I'll put that at the top. This is to serve as a reference for you ahead of your presentation regarding XYZ. No need to memorize all this information. No need to respond and answer all the questions and this and that. This is what it is. It's for you to use as you will. Use it as a reference. Save it for later. Whatever the bottom line is, I'm popping that to the top of the email. So now they know everything they read after is for reference. Or I say, very important, need you to answer all the questions below. That's just an example of when in my world, when over communication is non-existent. Okay? More words equals better comms. However, when you're having a conversation with somebody or you're having a conversation with your team as a whole, maybe it's a staff meeting, maybe it's a quarterly, all hands discussion to provide updates to the team. Nobody wants to sit there for 45 minutes to an hour listening to you drone on about whatever it is you're talking about. And the more you add into that conversation, the less they're paying attention. So again, know the environment you're in, know the vehicle of communication you're using. I use that term vehicle, gets you from A to B, and that's the definition I'm referring to when I say vehicle of communication. How you're communicating to these people. So for group announcements, clear, concise, direct. We'll get into that a little bit more. But more words does not necessarily mean better communication, more effective communication. Again, more often than not, simple is king. All right? Another common misconception. Good communication is how I talk to people. The big, well, how should I say this? Misstep or missed key of being an effective communicator is that listening should be at the top of the list of things to care about when trying to improve your communication skills. Especially if you're in a supervisory role, in a leadership position, and you have a team that you're leading and managing. That's how you're going to essentially get anywhere with your team. That's how you're going to build your relationship. That's how you're going to understand each member of your team, their strengths and weaknesses. That's how you're going to get their ideas and their feedback and their input, by listening to them, learning about them through listening, building the relationship through listening. Okay? Every time you hear about communication, I would say the vast majority of the people who write articles, put out podcast episodes, give lessons and training. They talk to you about how to improve your skills as a communicator, maybe as an orator, as an email writer, as a professional typist, whatever it is, and they forget about the listening aspect. Being a good communicator is not just about how you speak to people, how you relay information to people, but it's how you listen to them, how you receive information, and how they receive information. So you have to take that into effect. It is a two-way street. And if you're not paying attention to how they communicate and how they receive communication, then you're going to have a lot harder time improving your abilities. Those hurdles that you see day to day, those communication breakdowns, those are going to be all too common when you're trying to get things done. So a lot of the times, taking the step back and just listening and asking questions is going to improve your communication skills and your ability to effectively communicate with your team a lot more than how you speak to your team. All right. Now, how do we improve as a communicator? There's a lot of general things that you can look up on Google that are pretty good. They tell you, keep it simple, clear and concise, this and that. Be respectful in emails, all that stuff. It's all well and good. It is. But how much of that does it actually translate into your day-to-day focus on improving your abilities as a communicator and a leader? Not a lot all the time. And take it from me, throughout my time in the military as a leader, as an officer, leading teams, a lot of that self-study, that Google searching on how to be a better leader kind of went in one ear and out the other. It's very vague, very general, not practical for the specific situations I found myself in. And that is a key factor in your success on improving your skills as a communicator. Does it relate to you? Is it something that you feel that you can take action on right now that's going to directly, positively affect your ability to communicate with your team, family, spouse, what have you? So I wrote down a couple of tips here that hopefully should answer the mail on that. Hopefully should actually give you guys a way forward that you can implement right now, right as soon as you get done watching this, to work on your abilities as a communicator and as a leader in general. And if you're not at work, if you're at home watching this, you can try them with your family. Okay? At work, you can try them with your peers, your employees, your subordinates, whatever. Little things to get you in the right direction. And then if, as you improve and you want to get more in depth, come back to old Spearhead Leadership and we'll have a conversation. But first things first, I already mentioned it. Listen, listen, listen. If you're not listening to your team, and when I say listen, I mean take in their verbal and nonverbal communications. If you notice that they're not being very vocal when you're asking for ideas from them, from feedback from them, questions from them on things, that's a nonverbal communication right there that you should be listening to. Listen to them read back your communication. If you have an expectation you're setting out for a particular task, if you're announcing to the team something important, and you want to actually make sure that communication, that announcement got out there effectively, just because it was effective in your head does not mean that it's effective in their head, that they got the message. Do something as simple as a read back. The military calls it a read back. Simply ask, hey, repeat back what I just said to make sure, we all are on the same page. We all understand each other. And see how they do. If there's some confusion, if there's some questions, take those questions in. Listen to that feedback. And then go back to what we've discussed several episodes ago when we talked about ownership. And instead of pointing fingers, if someone doesn't understand what you said, instead of pointing fingers at them, well, you got to listen better. Take accountability, take ownership as the leader to think about how you can better communicate in the future. Which brings me to my next little tip to focus on is know your audience and environment. Okay? Know who you're talking to and the environment that you're in when talking to them. Because the conversation you're going to have with a peer in the break room is a lot different than the conversation you're going to have in a conference room at a staff meeting. Right? So you have to be aware of that ahead of time when you're preparing discussions on the official, on an official basis. If you're just, shooting the breeze with somebody in the break room or at their cubicle, very different. You don't have to necessarily write up cue cards and prepare ahead of time. That's a little crazy. Again, leadership is not a checklist. Effectively communicating is not a checklist. Oh, I better write down my notes and stuff. If you're having a regular conversation, have the regular conversation. It's okay. But know your audience and know your environment. And what I mean by that is know how people receive communication. I'm from the Northeast. I grew up in New Jersey in a loud Italian family that is very direct and blunt with their communication, how they talk to people. And I grew up thinking that's how everybody talks to people, and that is the only way that they're going to hear you and listen to you. And when I moved out of New Jersey and went to Florida for college and then was in the military down there in different parts of the country, boy, was I slapped in the face with reality. Because not everybody talks like that and communicates like that and receives information that way. So as a leader, if you're a business owner, you should know how your employees and team members take in information, receive information. And everybody's going to be different. That does not mean you have to tailor team-wide announcements to every single individual immediately. Okay? Know your environment. That's when it goes back to knowing your environment. If you have a team announcement that everybody needs to be aware of, or a task that the whole team is involved in and you're trying to set expectations, that environment really sort of requires, clear, concise, direct communication, getting follow-up questions and readbacks from the team, and then you have follow-up conversations with each team member individually to make sure that they understand their specific role in that task or that mission and get their feedback and questions and understanding as well. Okay? And that's when you want to know your audience. You cannot come in, what's that saying? Like a bull in a china shop all day, every day. Just because that works for you does not mean that works for everybody else. And again, if you want to effectively lead your team as successfully as possible in the for the long term, you have to understand that. That is not one of those things where they need to get used to the way I talk and the way I do business. Because in the corporate world, that's not going to fly. People will just leave. If you come in too hot, too direct, too blunt, because that works for you, It's only a matter of time before you start losing one, two, three, four members of your team. Can't understand why. Have you seen that before? Has that happened to you before where you're on a team and people are leaving left and right and the boss doesn't understand why I guess these guys can't just can't hack it. When in reality, the approach is just not effective. So understand each person, how they receive information, tailor that to them when you're talking to them individually, when you're providing feedback, when you're requesting feedback, when you're communicating to them on a one-on-one basis. Understand your team better. Not only is it going to make your communication more effective and a lot easier to communicate with them, it's going to build your relationship up with that person, with your team in general. And when you have a good relationship with your team, you will see more success. Things are going to get a lot easier. Those miscommunications, those breakdowns, those misunderstood emails, all those issues are going to start shrinking down. They're going to start minimizing. Okay? You're going to start seeing a lot smoother communications and a lot more success because you built a relationship and you took the time to care and understand each member of your team in that way. The last little tip here that I'll get into is be transparent. Now, again, that does not necessarily mean more words equals better communications. It does mean being honest and open with your team. If you don't have an answer for them on something, if they ask you a question and you don't have the information for them, just tell them that. You will get a lot more relationship points with your team if you are open and honest and transparent with things like that than if you try to act like you have all the answers and know all the things all the time. Nobody expects us as humans to be right all the time and to know everything about everything. That's a crazy expectation to have. Nobody has that expectation. So don't feel obligated. Don't feel like there's pressure. Oh, I'm the team lead. Everyone's looking to me. I have to have all the answers. No, you don't. What you have to do is be honest and transparent with your team because A, they need to know the truth about stuff. They need to know the honest to goodness truth about things if you actually want them to succeed. B, if you lie to them and pretend like you know something you don't, that crushes trust and it crushes the relationship. And good luck getting things done if you have terrible relationships with your team. And that's stuff that we discussed in a previous episode when we discussed the importance of relationships. So you can go check that video. I will pop the link up here. So just be transparent. Let people know up front. This is the information I have on this particular task. This is what I don't know yet. If somebody has a question and you don't know the answer, I don't have that information right now. I'm going to find it for you, though. And then make sure you obviously go find that information and let them know. That's important, too. Because actions speak louder than the words. I guess that's really the final piece. That's the final tip here. After transparency is actions. Okay? Nonverbal communication is also very important. Okay? How you act, how you conduct yourself, following through on things you say, that's going to communicate out to your team a lot more information to them than just by telling them, I'm a good leader. Listen to me. We got this. Show them with your actions. And again, that's going to send the message. This leader, this my boss can be trusted. My boss understands. He listens to me. She listens to me. My boss does what he or she tells us that we should also be doing. They're a person of action. They're a good example. That message is also very important and vital and something that you can and should be thinking about on a day-to-day basis. And you can start that right now. Are my actions aligning with my words and what I expect of my team? Am I being transparent, open, and honest with them as much as possible? Am I keeping things simple? Do I understand my team members enough to know how they take feedback? And how comfortable are they providing feedback or asking questions? Have I created an environment that allows them to feel comfortable doing that? All these things kind of work together to help you build yourself up and improve yourself as a better communicator, more effective communicator, to be able to lead your team better, to see more success in the long term. And this is not, once again, this is not a one and done thing. This is not as soon as I hit the home run in batting practice, I am a good baseball player now. This is repetition, repetition, repetition. Focus on these things on a regular basis, and you will see regular improvements, consistent improvements. But don't get seduced by the success. Okay? If you improve your communication skills and then you sit back and think, oh, I'm good. I'm as good a communicator as anybody now. That's it. We're done. We're done improving on that skill. I assure you, it is not going to work out for you in the long run. Okay? That is the most difficult thing about the skill set of leadership in general, is that the improvement and the focus on improvement and the striving for improvement is never ending. That's why so many people are not the best leaders. That's why if you got into a room, an arena of 1,000 people, and you ask them, hey, how many of you have dealt with a bad boss or a bad supervisor or a bad leader in your life? You will get 1,000 hands raised every single time. Not because leadership is hard to do, but because it requires consistent effort day in and day out. You are never done working towards improving yourself, improving the skill of leadership. And people just give up. But not here. At the Libretti Leadership Lab, we're not giving up. You're not giving up on yourselves. We're not giving up on you. That's why we come out weekly with content and videos and lessons and teachings, because we are always here for you to ensure that you're constantly and consistently working to learn, grow, and improve yourself. So that's all we got today, folks. Before we go, I always like to end the show with the big three. It's the three pillars. It's part of the core values of Spearhead Leadership, and it's part of my own personal core values as well. I call it the big three, the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and being a better leader overall in life. Number one, exercise every day. Do one thing each day to improve your fitness, health, and wellness physically, mentally, or emotionally. So whether it's a workout at the gym, a walk outside or a jog outside, a home workout, jumping jacks during commercial breaks at TV, or you're going to break that mental sweat. You're going to go read a book. You're going to take on a new hobby, do a crossword. I'm learning a new language right now. I'm breaking my mental sweat trying to learn a new language. Or you're working on the soul, the emotional side. You're praying, you're meditating, you're doing breath work, yoga, whatever it is. You're doing one activity, one thing a day to improve your fitness, health, and wellness physically, mentally, or emotionally. Number two, the hardest pillar, the hardest one to do, is don't be a negative, crappy person. Be a kind person. And I say it's the hardest to do because not only are we getting flooded with negativity and crappiness all day, every day, when we turn the TV on, when we pop on our phones, on social media, when we're on our computers, on the internet, everywhere. It's coming at us. And because it's behind our phones or behind a computer, behind a keyboard, we're just looking at profiles and we're forgetting the connection, the human connection on the other side. That the other side of that profile is also a human being. And even though they're saying something crappy and negative, when we say something crappy and negative back, that's going towards a human. But because it's on your phone, it's on your keyboard, it's on TV, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the negative emotions that chaos causes. And then we react to those negative emotions as opposed to taking the step back and responding as a leader by removing ourselves from the situation, by detaching from those negative emotions so that they don't take over and we don't react to them. So all I'm asking you to do is when the opportunity arises to be negative and crappy to either to somebody or just out in the ether of the internet, take that step back, take a deep breath, detach from those emotions that are driving you towards that, and just remove yourself from the situation. Just put your phone down, close your laptop, turn the TV off, remove yourself. That way, you're minimizing the negativity and the crappiness that's going on in your environment around you. And now you're giving yourself the capacity. Now you have the capacity to go focus on more positive, productive things in your lives, like exercising, for instance. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. Now, it sounds difficult and unrealistic to just sit there and sit in gratitude about everything all day, every day. I get it. But if you take some time each day away from everything else, put your phone down, close your laptop, get out of your office, go outside for a bit, whatever. Take a little bit of time. It takes 1 minute to actively think about just one good thing in your life or one good experience or one good person or whatever it is. Think about one good thing and then think about what your life would look like, how your life would be without that. How crappy or bad or sad your life might be without that thing. Gratitude comes in waves when we're dealing with trauma or tragedy. When we get into a car accident, now our car we can't get around anymore. Oh, thank at least we have our health and our lives. And man, I really wish I had my car to drive around from A to B. Now I got to walk or hitch a ride on Uber or whatever it is. It's easy to think about that stuff in the midst of it or right after tragedy or trauma or what have you. I'm asking you to do it when things are good, when it's easy to take things for granted. Because the more you're in a state of gratitude, the easier it's going to be to not be a crappy negative person, to be a kind person. And the easier it's going to be to go focus on more positive, productive things in your life, like exercising every day. And when you live in gratitude, good things happen to yourself and to all those around you. So if you follow these 3, at the very least, if you just follow these 3 things a little bit each and every day, repetition, 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 a little bit, I promise you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being, and a better leader overall in life. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget, please, if you get any value out of this at all, hit that subscribe, hit the like on this video. If you have questions, if you have comments, feedback, if you have topics you want to discuss, put it in the comment section below this video right now. If you comment the word leadership right now, we're going to give you a shout out on a future episode. Maybe even take some of your questions and have you on as a guest one day. Who knows? But tell your friends and enemies about this. Put your little notifications on. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Libretti,